Listen up. There's no more excuses.
We're empowering those who want the hustle by exposing the status quo.
The days of ordinary are over.
It's time to crush mediocrity and start discovering your greatest potential.
Welcome to the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Nation podcast. Today, we've got Chris Williams in the house. Chris is founder and CEO of Group Coach Nation. He is a thought leader and expert in the coaching and training space. Outside of being a shark diver and electric skateboarder, if I heard that right, he dives into the art of monetizing his clients' knowledge, scaling their impact by sharing insights gained over years of empowering experts. Chris, welcome to the show.
I'm so glad I'm here. This is going to be really fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Where do you want to go with this? Let's rock and roll. I know your people are super cool who listen. You guys listening in, aren't these guys the greatest? This is super fun. Anyway, all right, because it's way more fun when you get to hang out with them before the show. It's really okay. Let's go for the fun stuff. Let's talk shark diving for a second. So Jill's my wife. We've been together for 29 years. Been married for 25 years. Together for 29 years. We got 5 kids. We like going places and doing fun things. So we're out in the South Pacific, miles and miles offshore. There's 3,500 feet of water below us. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when you're going to the beach with your family and you're out there paddleboarding or surfing or sitting on that stupid raft you brought from home, and you're finally like, we can't see the sand down there below us anymore. It's kind of, it's creepy feeling. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
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 I hate that feeling. So we're out there and there's nothing. It's crystal clear. Like, I didn't know this. When you go way out, until we did the first time, when you go way, way out away from the shore, the water's freaking clear. And that's almost the case everywhere in most oceans.
Really?
Yeah. You don't have to go to the Caribbean for clear water. You just got to get far enough from the beach. So anyway, okay.
Yeah.
We're out there for a couple hours. We hired this National Geographic shark guard and a mako shark researcher. So this mako shark researcher, she had 15 years of studying mako sharks. She was super cool, super knowledgeable. And this guy who is a shark guard, he floats, swims behind the National Geographic Blue Planet videography crew, and he keeps the great whites away while they're doing their job.
Oh my goodness.
It's just stupid insane, right? Okay. This is the first time we did this. So we're
Who did you convince to go out with you?
Jill. This is Jill's idea. Yeah, Jill's idea. So we're out there, and all of a sudden, like the researcher, she yells, "In the water, in the water, in the water." I'm like so seasick at this point. I just horrible. In the water. So we jump in the water. She's like, "Sharks out, sharks out, sharks out." And so there's also we jump in the water because there's fins coming towards the boat, and that's not. Yeah,
Great time to
I don't think that's a good sign. I'm not an expert. I'm not a mako shark researcher, but I don't think that's a good sign.
Oh my gosh. We got in there. It was the scariest thing I'd ever done. We've done a lot of crazy stuff as adventures in our family, but we teach our kids always have a way out. So we do a lot of adventures, but there's always a way out. When you're climbing, when you're mountaineering, when you're skateboarding, when you're doing whatever, you got backups and safeties. But we're in their world, and they're coming up to you, big 9-footers just coming right up at you. And it was so cool because a couple things. One, sharks are gorgeous. When you see them in real life, it's so freaky scary, but they're gorgeous. They're reading your electrical system. They know if you're nervous, fight, flight, they know all this stuff. So we can't run. We got to stare them in the eye and do our thing. But I also learned how important it is to have a guide and somebody who's been there freaking before. And that was such a meaningful, impactful moment for me. Honestly, as a student of other coaches, I left that event, that experience with Jill and those other people, just us and the guides and one other couple. And I realized I need to trust the people who've gone before me. I need to trust them in a new way. Now, not blind trust. We all made that mistake. We've hired the wrong coach, bought the wrong e-course, whatever. But somebody who I can confirm they've done this over and over and over, and nobody's died, and we got the real deal results. And I tell you what, guys, that was a pivotal moment and a mind shift for me that was better than actually just seeing the shark. It stuck with me.
Wow. Well, so apparently if we're going shark diving, we're taking you with. There we go.
I got 2 people you should go with, but I'm just the guy who's going to swim away if they're not with me.
You didn't say you swam away and screaming the whole time. You said you stared right at the shark. You missed that part of the story.
Wow. So fun out there. So the world's a big place. There's so much out there.
I play golf, and with golf, you don't really need much of a guide. It's a pretty safe. I don't need an exit plan when I go to the golf course.
I'm not a golfer, but I see golf stuff on my reels, and it's inevitably like the gator who's chasing some golfer out of the water, Yeah.
More entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You said something there where it was a point that you had learned something in your life that you need a guide. How has that translated into what you do now? Because obviously you lead Group Coach Nation. There's got to be an undercurrent to that. No pun intended.
That was good, actually. There is, and I think it's interesting, and I think everybody listening, you guys get this too, that when you're an expert at something and you support everybody else doing it, you find that that's often your own weakness. Isn't that weird? And I found that over and over. So we coach hundreds and hundreds of people going through our programs to build their own masterminds, group coaching programs, right? You'd think I'd be freaking bulletproof about creating masterminds and group coaching offers and stuff like that. I so need someone to help me with it. And I think that's the cool thing that I've learned. I'm 47 right now. I was recording, so I turned 47 yesterday. So yes, I know. Happy birthday. Sing later. Yeah. Don't embarrass. Yeah, sing later. So just send me the gifts. That'll be fine. So they'll have my address down below. Everybody listening in, keep it under $200 a person. All right, let's be reasonable. So here's the thing, though. I've learned the long, hard way that I need to have someone helping me, even though I'm really good at what I do, because I don't know what I'm missing. And that's the problem. The better and better you get at something, the more and more that blind spot becomes a real risk factor. And so I've got amazing people advising me. And that gives me so much space. Like yesterday, I had a call with one of my advisors, a mentor of mine. I pay this guy to mentor me because he's really, really good. And he said, dude, I'm not going to mentor you for free. You got to have some skin in the game. So he charges me $1,000 an hour to talk to him. Yeah. It's great. It's worth every penny. So I get to sit there in a very safe place and say, here's what's going on. What do I do next? And it's so refreshing because I don't have to be the guy that's on camera. I get to be the guy who's sitting there with my hands on my head saying, what the heck? What do I don't know. And I know it's weird to say that when I'm supposed to be the guy who's on your show giving expert advice, but let's be honest. We're all humans and we all have those moments, no matter where you are in life.
What that's screaming to me today, Chris, is actually right before this recording, I was actually talking to a guy that was on our podcast previously, Cliff Ravenscraft, and he and I spent about an hour together, and it was exactly that. I mean, we were talking about stuff that literally we coach in Hustle, and and he's channeling it back at me, being like, well, wait a second, let's get a little deeper in there. Like, is that really your why? Like and it's so funny, as I was literally sharing with them last hour. I said, it's amazing how it's like the shoemaker, right? Like, just because you're the shoemaker doesn't mean you have nice shoes.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes you're so focused on everyone else and how you can help everyone else, you forget to kind of take some of your own medicine.
100% true. I just hate that part about being a human, but I don't think there's any way around it. Yeah. Taking advice and learning from other mentors. I mean, even watching something like, I'm a huge Swiftie. Okay. Sorry. This is getting really vulnerable today, guys. There you go. So I'm a huge Swiftie. She talks so much about the mentors in her life, though. She's had some really amazing other stars that she's been able to be vulnerable with and say, how do I navigate these situations? It doesn't matter how big you are. It matters how willing you are to learn and grow. And that's what's going to really determine how fast it happens for you.
Who were some of her mentors? Do you know offhand?
Oh, I don't. I watched some of that recently, but I don't remember who they were. But it was here's the thing. It was other superstars who aren't as big as she is now. That's for sure. And she was even getting mentored. Like, she's still getting mentored by several people who aren't near as big as she's ever been. But she's not asking them, how do I be the biggest pop star in the world? She's already that. She's saying, how do I deal with friends, with family, with struggles, with staff, with key influencers, with like the media, stuff that other people have done before her that's just nice to have some perspective on. So, there's so many things in that for all of us.
will say about Taylor Swift, what's interesting is being a father of daughters. I never thought I'd say this, but I've grown to like her as a human being and as a musician. I've never thought she was the greatest singer, but one of the things that I love from a performer standpoint, I think she will go down in history as being one of the greatest, like Michael Jackson was in terms of being a performer. Also, on a personal side, when you think of all of the people out there that your son or daughter could be a role model for, I would love for my girls to look up to Taylor Swift. I mean, the epitome of professional. I mean, few times have you seen her do something that you wish your kids would never do. And so you say, I love Taylor Swift. I think I've become a bit of a Swiftie myself, but we're getting off track with that, aren't we?
Oh, I don't know. Dustin hadn't chimed in. Dustin, are we all gonna have t-shirts that match?
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. Actually, one of my best friends in life is my college roommate. He has been a Swiftie for 20 years. So he was a Swiftie before Swiftie was being cool, sort of thing. And yeah, it was. So I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. I'm not. My daughter isn't, so I guess I'm not either. So I don't know, but yeah. So I don't. Nothing against her. I just it's not my thing. I guess
It's not your thing. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
Well, everybody
Chris.
leave some positive 5-star reviews and comments for Chris and Chris. Leave Dustin out of it, though.
That's
Great
exactly
episode.
right.
Thanks, Chris and Chris. That's all we're looking for.
Hashtag
and,
Taylor Swift.
And Taylor, yeah.
Yeah. It was nice to see the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, though, and apparently that's her team. So
yeah, I think Taylor won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, one of the things that you said last that I thought was really interesting was perspective. You talked about, from a coach, one of the things that they give is perspective, because no matter how much of an expert you are in a space, someone from the outside can bring a unique perspective to challenge you, even potentially on your own principles that you're teaching to others. And as we formed Hustle, right? Like that was ultimately the idea. I've shared the story in the past. When we were kind of building this coaching program and the different videos and the trainings, I remember going back and rewatching the videos that we had created, and light bulbs popping off in my head of in some cases my own voice saying back to me, "Hey, you got to think about this. Hey, you got to think about that." And so, curious on your perspective about, as you've coached lots of different people, ways in which you've revealed new perspectives for them, in the different things you teach.
Yeah, so and I'll keep that in the Hustle format, because again, all we teach is experts, coaches, speakers, those types. People have subject matter experts who are good communicators, how to build high-ticket group coaching and mastermind programs. So what I do is very, very niche. And I would highly recommend being super niche to anybody out there. The tighter you get on that, the easier it is to help people, and they get faster change and you have better results. That aside, maybe that's perspective for somebody, hopefully so.
For sure.
That aside, because that's my specific niche, and that's all I focus on, I'm able to bring a level of expertise and focus into that conversation. But a lot of what we teach, because it's so scalable, like building a group coaching model or a mastermind is extremely scalable. And that's a perspective shift. So a lot of people actually come to us because of the hustle issue. They're used to working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. They're cranking out the weekends. Like you guys see, I'm sure, a ton. And like we say at the end of every one of our training sessions, or any session that I lead, do work, get results. Just please do the right work and don't do anything else you shouldn't be doing. And that is a huge deal. This is not about, I'm going to join 3 masterminds and learn how to market and learn how to sell and learn how to lead a group and whatever it is that each of you do in life. Like, it's not about that. It's about what is the thing that's going to let you take a step back in a year, 2 years, 3 years, like truly take a step back and look at your life in a couple of years and say, this is what I wanted. If it's not going there, quit. Like, stop, go do the real thing. And that's a really big, important lesson to learn. And that's a huge shift I've had to go through in my own life, because I was doing the wrong stuff personally and professionally. And now shifting to the right stuff over the past decade or so has been such a game changer.
That's interesting.
Such spot on. When we often talk about that clarity of vision. and just understanding where you're going. Chris and I were just at an event together this week, and that was one of the biggest things. Was it yesterday? Man, that time flies. About how so often when people think of hustle, they have even a negative reaction to it, right? It's this almost anti-hustle movement. And when you ask people about it, it's often because of someone in their life was the parent in the stand yelling at them, hustle, hustle, hustle. And they just burnt them out, right? And so many people think of the word hustle and burnout as synonymous. And one of the things we've seen is the reason it often is because hustle without vision will just accelerate your ability to burn out.
Yeah. Great
right.
point.
And so to your point, if you don't start with like, why are you even doing this? And what does this matter? And, what are you really seeking here? I mean, don't hustle at stuff that isn't really clear, because you'll get tired quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love that. Really well said. Yeah. Don't hustle at anything that's not the right thing. And as entrepreneurs and executives, I know a lot of people like that in your audience. We're all high achievers and we all can accomplish quite a bit of things. But that's a huge weakness sometimes. If we're on the right thing, as you said, it's perfect. But it's so hard for us to freaking give up sometimes. We want to keep that relationship going that honestly all of our friends are telling us to quit. We want to keep that business going that we know and everybody else knows should be done. Like lots of things. Well, Chris, what am I going to do if I don't do this? I don't know. But you won't be going the wrong way. I mean, if you're going the wrong way to vacation, away from the beach, stopping the car and hitting the rest stop for 5 hours is better than driving for 5 hours.
Yeah. Great analogy.
You didn't get anywhere, but you also didn't get anywhere wrong. Yeah.
I don't know why you're hanging at a rest stop for 5 hours. That seems like an interesting place to stop.
Well, who knows? They have shark diving there. Come on.
That's fair.
I'd rather talk about shark diving than rest stops, but that's just me. Okay. So speaking of doing what works and what doesn't, I've told a lot of my clients that in marketing, and it seems really simple, but it's also very hard for them to say, oh, you mean I should stop doing the stuff that doesn't work and do more of what does? Yes. But more importantly, when you get past that, if you give someone an idea or you're like, hey, we have this group coaching program. It is this number of dollars. It's 1 hour a week. Sometimes people will say things like, it's not the money, it's the time. And so often entrepreneurs and leaders are making excuses for why they can't do something or why they can't do this. But a lot of it comes back to time. Do you see this as being the case on your end? And if so, how do you help people overcome that? Because most of the excuses are just exactly that. They're just BS.
Yeah. If they're excuses, they're excuses. What can you say? That's between them and themselves, and they got to be honest. I honestly think that sales calls should be more honesty calls than anything else. Because it's just about when I'm on a sales call as the buyer, it really comes down to, am I being honest with myself? What do I actually want? And can this widget or program or expert or whatever get me that thing? And if it can, be honest, put the cash down and move on, because that's what you want. Okay, great. If, though, we're in this space where like, I actually want this and the money's not a problem, I just don't have time to do what I need to do. Again, so many people teach so many different things. We frequently advise our clients to put some sort of module or other expert or resource or something. Get a guest speaker that's the first week of your mastermind or group coaching program and have them come in and speak on how to pick up half a day a week of time. It's really not hard to pick up 4 hours of free time in anybody's week. It's so not hard. And so, like, if you can just crack the code on that, now they got time to do the work. Like, just do it. So in our program, we do the same thing. Like, let's save you some time real quick. Let's show you what to stop doing. I want you to take half of this time and do the work we're going to tell you to do, because we got to build something, and half of the free time and go for a walk every week. I want you to actually enjoy your life more while we're doing the work. And that's really simple. It doesn't matter what you're selling or doing. You can have some other time management guru come in and help with a little bit of tweaking, pay them a little bit of money, or they'll probably be happy to come in there and just meet your people, because they're probably their prospects too.
Sometimes you need to hear that from somebody like yourself. So I've known 2 different dentists who historically do not work on Fridays anywhere from spring through fall. And then when you and I last connected, you said, yeah, I would love to be on the podcast, but just not Fridays. I take Fridays off. And I respect that. I love that. I envy that at times. And I think when you surround yourself with people like that, it reminds you, like, what do I need to do Monday through Thursday to get Friday, or at minimum, Friday afternoon off? And
Yeah.
it just comes back to, it's not time though. It's prioritizing. Is that fair?
It is. Yeah. Own your shit. Like, I don't know how else to say that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Are we not an explicit podcast? Or are we
Yeah,
just
we're
became-
good.
Oh yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
You crossed the bar. We're fine.
Okay. We got
We
that
just, we just
long
got upgraded thanks to you, Chris. That's good. We're good.
Own your shit. There's no better way to say it. And if what you need to own is a problem you got to fix, own it. Like, start working, right? Okay, get some accountability, get a coach, get a therapist, get whatever you need. And if what you need to own is, I need to create free space in my life, own that free space. Mark it on your calendar. People get accountability to stop smoking and stop drinking and heal relationships and all the stuff. We need accountability to just have a Saturday without looking at our email. Like, for real. So for me, what I do, if this helps any, I have a calendar that I set up. It's a Google Sheet. You can just Google like annual calendar Google Sheet or whatever, and you'll find templates out there. And I take a Google Sheet, I fill in all the cells of the days that I want off every year before the year starts. So in December, I fill in the upcoming year. All the weekends are yellow. Yellow is my color for days off. And then I put in whatever green days I want. Green days are days I'm performing, making money, being on podcasts. Like today is a green day. I put all of my on-camera stuff in one day. Performance days, game days. A lot of athletes and theater people use this structure as well. And then my red days are preparation days. I mean, preparing for being on camera, being on stage, being in front of clients, whatever. Or I'm just meeting with my team for a little bit of admin stuff, whatever. Just following that and then time blocking down what the specific big projects are into time blocks that I can shut the doors and get it done has brought me from 12 to 14 hour days down to 12, 14 hour weeks, I think is about what I work right now and have been for a while. Like, you don't have to work that much, but when you're at work, you better be doing the stuff that only you can do. And if you have to do other people's jobs right now, that's okay. But as soon as you can increase your prices, get some profit margin, and find a way to hire a team, you're going to be better at helping the people you help, and you're going to have a life. And that's going to make you sustainable, which is going to help you help even people in a more deep, full, meaningful way. But there's so much there. So own your shit.
To piggyback on that, one of the things we've experienced a lot is referred to as you do you. I think a lot of times people try, especially, entrepreneurs, small business owners, even just leaders of any business for that matter, they try to be the jack of all trades. They try to be everyone's problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
And, I go back, I'll never forget one of the first times when we decided to hire someone to mow our lawn, which, for many people listening is a joke to say this out loud, but it was a big deal. My wife and I have been married now for quite a while, but she came from a blue collar family, and the mindset that I would pay someone else when I was perfectly capable to go out and mow the lawn just blew her mind. She's like, why would you do that? And this was, we were young. It wasn't like we had really money to spend, but to me, I was in a sales job, and I'm like, that's a couple hours a week that if you want me out there and then never seeing the kids or you, then maybe you'd prefer me to be out there. And maybe that was her game all along. But as you grow and succeed, you end up not just doing it for your lawn, you do it for all sorts of things. As you work in your role, as people are trying to, build these masterminds and things like that, I'm sure you're having plenty of people that are starting from zero, trying to get to, phase one, right? Where they're trying to do it all. What would you say is the thing that they should be looking for, and when's the right time to start offloading that stuff? Because I think a lot of times people just wait way too long to identify those things to allow themselves to scale.
If you're a beginner doing this, your entrepreneurial journey, first of all, give yourself a big pat on the back for being the person who can solve lots of problems. That's what's gotten you to the success you have today. You've gotten some clients, you've built something. That's really cool. Like, you figured stuff out. That means you're smart. It means you're capable. It means you can do this. The next thing to figure out is how not to do those things. So keep the same thinking hat on. It's a different problem. So instead of figuring out how to do it because you're good at figuring it out, figure out how not to do it. It's still a project. How not to do it is find some virtual team member that you can hire for a few hours a day, a few hours a week, whatever you need to start with. There's plenty of people out there. Reach out. There's so many resources to find out. I'm sure these guys have it too. Reach out and find somebody you can delegate your inbox and your calendaring to. I know we all have calendaring apps, but you still need somebody to help organize a little bit of that, send notes back and forth, make sure the right Zoom links or whatever are correct, whatever. Get somebody to help with inbox or communication, text messages, social media messages, whatever. Communication and calendaring is a huge deal. You will instantly save 4 to 8 hours a week. It's easy to train. You can have them archive, not delete everything. You can have them reply to only 10% of the messages at first that you're pretty templatized. Like, you can build up to it over a month or two. But you got to do that. Like you said, how soon do people do that? When's the right time? The right time is now. It's so now. You really have to figure out how to delegate the simplest, easiest things to delegate off of your plate. Either stop, if you shouldn't be doing it, stop doing it, right? Don't see somebody else and pay somebody else to do it. But if it should be done, get it off your plate and take that time. Take half of it. Let's use the 50-50 rule. Take half of it and go prospect or go serve a client more so you can make a few more bucks to pay your new team member. Take the other half and chill and relax, because your brain will think of the next thing to do that makes money if you're relaxing. It won't if you're staring at your screen. So unchain yourself, let yourself be free, and hire that person. It doesn't, a couple $100 a month. If you need to start super low, you find somebody that can just help you a little bit, but get that off your plate.
Chris, how do you get over the fear? So a lot of people are chained, as you say, and they're worried about, what if someone sees this message, or what if I get a complaint, and someone's going to think this about me? How do you get over that fear of either not being able to do it as good, or worrying about what someone's going to say or what they might see? How do you manage that?
When I was a younger dad, I got 5 kids. Youngest is 16 now. When I was a younger dad, one of our kids stuck their hand into like the dog crate to pick up the dog's toy. And they pulled their hand out of the dog crate and it wouldn't come loose because they had the dog's toy in their hand, right? Super simple, straightforward process. We're young humans. We're learning, sizes and shapes. They screamed for so long because they were mad they couldn't get the thing. And then they were mad they couldn't get loose. And all they had to do was let go of the thing, right? If you're chained, if you're in the prison, if you're chained to the email, let's say, and you're scared of letting go, you got to decide, is the dog toy of worrying about 1 or 2 people getting a little misunderstood on an email worth not being free? For me and most of you, I think freedom is more important. And here's how it works. So you send an email, or your team member did. Thanks for your email, client. So sorry I couldn't see you today. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And let's say that client gets completely ticked off. What the heck? I needed something now. Here's what's going to happen. They're not going to fire you. No guarantees here. If they do, you probably got a jerk client. You don't want to work with them anyway. But you're probably gonna email them back tomorrow and call and be like, look, oh my gosh, so sorry. I got a team member I'm trained to handle some of this stuff. He or she didn't realize what was going on. How can I help? I'll set aside some time right now. They're going to be like, oh, totally okay. I get it. Here's what needs fixing. And they're going to get it fixed. You can also just simply have a list of A clients or A priorities or A topics. If you ever see these things come up in an email, tell me right now. And there's pretty easy ways around just, it's okay. 10% of the stuff I want to know about, label the 10% of the stuff and you'll probably be fine. Let go of the dog toy.
So Chris, how did you get into this? To your point about into Group Coach Nation, right? Because this is, to your point, it's a super focused niche that you're focused on. How did you get into this business? Was it your own success? Was it seeing other people? Like what drove that?
I wish it was my own success. Oh my gosh. Does anybody ever actually say it is their own? I'm a self-made man. Yep. You mean to take this podcast a whole different direction? I'm a middle-class white guy born in America. Yeah, it's my own success. What
Yeah.
the fuck? I mean, let's be honest here. Like, I'm just gonna be really honest. I have been born in a place and a time where people like me have a lot of opportunity. I'm gonna call that spade a spade. All right. A lot of folks don't have the same opportunity. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've squandered an enormous amount of potential because it was sitting right in front of me. And for all of us out there who have opportunity in front of us right now, be awesome. Use the opportunity to grow your communities. All right. Be cool. Make this planet a better place. You can do it. We all can together. For those of you who don't have the opportunity sitting right in front of you, ask people around you or ask people that you know who might be more like you, that you've seen be successful, how they did it. Because I promise the code has been cracked. Okay? Not everybody's been able to crack it the same way at the same pace, but somebody out there has cracked that code. Get a mentor. All right. Can I just park it there for a second, anchor that point, get a mentor. Yep. All right. For me, I'm born an entrepreneur. My parents were not entrepreneurs, but I came from a pretty horrible home, actually. But still, it is what it is right here in America. I had lots of stuff in front of me because of who I am, what I look like. So wherever you are, here's what happened for me. I was an entrepreneur. When I was 11, I started cutting grass. Traded my next door neighbor for a lawnmower. I didn't have one, so I could cut grass. When I got their mower, I could cut their grass for a whole season for free, but it gave me a lawnmower so I could go cut 5 or 10 more yards at the same time, right? Scalability, simple. Then when I was 14, I hired my first staff member because I needed a driver for my lawn business because it had grown. So I hired somebody who could drive me around. Then I sold that when I was 22 and I had 3 crews and trucks and the stuff, right? I'm an entrepreneur. So I started just following my passion and my interest into what I wanted to do next. Then I went into financial advising. So I started getting into that, sold stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all the stuff, right? And then I started a financial advisory firm. Then I sold that. Then I got into consulting. And then consulting ultimately took me down this path of, okay, I've been hustling for 15 years. I was working a ton of hours, had a bunch of small kids. And that's when I realized I was working too many hours. And when I was in coaching and consulting is when I realized, okay, I have a lot of control over what happens here. And this is where I have to learn to quit working those big hours. I read The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss's book. I read it twice. First time I thought it was bullshit. Second time, I was desperate enough 1 week after the first time I read it to actually go back and outline it and do what it said to do. And I went from 12 to 14-hour days down to 4-hour days and quadrupled my income in 4 months. Wasn't 4-Hour Workweek yet, but my gosh. Because I learned to let go of literally my inbox and my calendaring and hand it to a VA. That was the first thing I did. So all of that awesome string of success, like 5 or 6 steps there, is mixed in to like 20 or 30 massive failures that I didn't just explain. But those failures are all freaking over the place. And then there's like 1,000 failures a day that you feel, right? Just being an entrepreneur, no matter who you are. So those failures are what they are. I don't sugarcoat failure and say, well, it's just another opportunity to learn. Whatever, it sucks, all right? You're going to fall down and bang up your knees and get all bloody. I don't want to do that again. I'm going to do it again anyway. So I got to get out there and I got to say, look, I'm learning, I'm growing. And the faster I've grown has been directly correlated to how many people I was willing to actually say, here's what's going on, like the real crap that's going on. What do I do next? Here's one big secret about mentorship. If any of us, no matter where you are or how you start in life, I have a lot of pride, okay? I've had way too much pride in my life. Showing up with, I think I'm supposed to have it all together because of where I was born and what I look like and who I am and everybody else does. And I'm in a middle-class society growing up and they all seem to have their shit together and all the stuff, right? Cool. But I had to show up and as a 25-year-old and a 30-year-old and a 35-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 45-year-old and now 47-year-old stop and say, look, here's what's actually going on in a safe place with somebody I could trust, somebody who'd already been there before me, who'd already succeeded in that, and say, this is really embarrassing. Please don't tell anybody else. This is what I'm actually going through. What do I do next? So no matter where you are in life, all you wonderful people listening and watching this thing, find someone that you're really able to be safe with, not a gossip, not somebody else you think is awesome, but they talk about a bunch of other people. That means they'll talk about you too. Somebody who's really safe, and tell them what's going on and ask them for help. Because there is help out there. If it's therapy, if it's coaching, if it's a group program you be part of, whatever, find your person.
Is it fair to say that group coaching can be a bit therapeutic? It can be like therapy? Because so often, even in a one-to-one, when I'm coaching somebody, it's as much for me like, this is therapy. This has to be therapy as much as it is enlightening for the other person.
Yeah, that's a good question. You guys asked early before we started the show what you could or couldn't ask about. Anything goes. So my first experience in group coaching was as a therapy at a facility called Onsite, a residential facility called Onsite. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. If anybody's looking for deep healing and trauma or chemical abuse, stuff like that, Onsite has so many great opportunities. And I'd been going to a one-on-one therapist for years, multiple therapists who are just great people. Finally, a therapist said, you need to go to Onsite. So it's expensive, blah, blah, gulp, but you do it and it's scary and all the stuff. I was so scared to be in a group of like 8 people or so with a therapist there. And that was like so freaking fast change that compared to one-on-one. And then I got into it a little bit. I kind of asked I'm no matter who you are, where you are, you're still who you are, where you are, right? So I'm at this therapy place and I'm like asking the therapist, why are we all getting, like, we're growing fast? What the heck? Why are y'all different? Like, it's anything different your therapist has already been telling you, but people grow. The research shows people grow and change 5 times faster. It's actually a little more than that. 5 times faster in group scenarios than they do with one-on-one work in business and in personal. And then you think, well, Chris, I coach and consult people on really private stuff. Whatever. It was a therapy program. We're telling everybody the real stuff, right? If it's a safe environment, people change and grow 5 times faster, and they retain and use the information at a much higher level because there's structure, there's accountability, there's the motion of a whole group going through it. And when I realized that, it got my attention for group coaching. And then I tried and failed to build a group coaching program. And then I finally went out and got 3 mentors who knew different parts of the group coaching model. And 7 weeks later, I had a group coaching program because I got help versus the previous 5 years of me trying to do it on my own.
So it was the therapy session that really launched the group coaching business.
Yeah, it was a therapy session that gave me that vision for it. And then I joined, after that, I joined my first mastermind. I joined a group coaching program. I joined Russell Brunson's at ClickFunnels. There's some people in there and was able to get in because I qualified financially because I had an agency that was successful already, even though I don't even know how to build a funnel. I don't have a t-shirt or anything, but like those people in there, I told them what I was trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before this episode.
Yes, right. I'm building the funnel while we're talking. I told them what I was trying to accomplish, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, quit building e-courses and one-on-one, all that kind of stuff, dude. You need to have a mastermind." Like the first 45 minutes I was in there, they told me that. And so several of them at dinner that night gave me the framework for it. I went back and hired them over the next few weeks, and voila, like it works.
It's wild.
Yeah, I didn't have an audience.
How has that changed from when you started
it's so easy to start these things
to now? How
it's
is
actually
it
harder for people with audiences that are already big. With what? How's it different? What do you mean?
Yeah. So how does that look different now than when you started?
When I started, I didn't know how valuable people's information really was, I think is the best way to say it. Like the information you guys are sharing on this podcast is so freaking valuable. But here's the truth. Let me say this for all you listeners. If you're trying to figure out how to actually accomplish something legit without ruining your life, you need to reach out to these 2 guys. Dustin and Chris got your back. Like, I'm for real about that. Because listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube reel that you're on right now won't cut it. You got to freaking show up, be accountable, and invest. There's something weird and horrible about humans. If we're not in a group, if we're not accountable, and if we don't put some skin in the game, we don't get the same results. I wish it wasn't so, but we're human. call them, reach out to them, message them, do something. Say, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. If they can't help you, they know tons of people. They'll refer you to somebody who can. You need to find that person, whatever it is you're trying to do in your life. Now, for me, when I realized that, Chris, that me as a person, I need to learn in that group setting. I need to learn from somebody who's been there before me. And I realized, oh my gosh, I can teach other people to do that same thing, to take whatever they're good at and not sugarcoat the stuff they're not at, but the stuff they're good at, and change a ton of people that way. That changed so much in the way I think about like the value of other humans in my world. We're not who we look like we are. We're so much more than that. And we have so much potential to give and give and give and change this freaking awesome rock we're all flying around on. This is a cool place. There's lots of cool folks here. And we can all help and be helped by everybody.
Okay, so Chris, for those out there listening to this show and they've got some kind of a program, whether it be group coaching or one-to-one, or maybe they're thinking about this group coaching thing, what are just a couple of tips you could give them to help them grow and scale a little bit?
Great question. Niche down, first of all. You gotta really niche down. Being a generalist will take so much longer to increase your profit margins and find clients. I know niching down is scary because we feel like we're going to give the farm away. Like there's so many people we're letting them walk by, but I promise there are so many people in a specific niche, you'll never help them all. It's kind of impossible. All right, that's number one. Number two is own what you know how to do based on the value of what it is to that person that you're helping. Your value is not determined by how much you think it's worth. Your value, the value of what you can sell, is determined on what it's worth to that person over time. So if you can help someone change their life today, it's not worth the life change today. It's worth the life change for the rest of their life. You can help them make money today. It's not worth today. It's worth the money in the next 10 years of their life. It's the value of what you can give them long term. So own that niche, dive in, and then figure out what is they desperately need help with. And if I could fix that for them, what's it worth in the long haul? That's where the sweet spot is. Relationships, health, wealth, money, time, whatever it happens to be. Find your thing and get what you're worth. Please don't be shy about it. Get what you're worth.
Oh, that is a conversation. We're going to have you back because that conversation is something that I bring up frequently, regardless of what I'm talking about. And most people don't. And I was guilty of that for many, many years and arguably maybe still. But most people are, I see them out there and they're like, well, we got this Black Friday special and you can do Black Friday all year long. And I said, no, well, please don't. Please don't do that. It looks so desperate. And they're like, no, it works. And I said, first of all, you don't charge enough. So why would you discount your services?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Black Friday works.
I think when you discount your services, that you're getting some of the tire kickers and the people that were considering working with you, but maybe don't respect you as much. And they tend to take more from you than they're paying for.
So true. So true. You're not Walmart. You're not trying to sell TVs. It's different. Black Friday works different in this space than it does in the widget space. Yeah.
100%. Chris, I don't know where this hour went, but it did blow by. We're going to have you back and maybe sooner than usual. So thank you for your time today. Super insightful. Before we let you go, tell everybody a little bit more about what you have going on with Group Coach Nation and where they can find you.
Yeah. Don't all you lovely listeners, don't you hate this part? You want to skip ahead right now? Okay, here we go. All right. Here's the simple, straightforward of it. There's plenty of stuff out there for you guys. All right. Here's what we do. groupcoachnation.com. Just Google Chris Williams, Group Coach Nation. You'll find us. groupcoachnation.com. Tons of resources there for you to get into figuring out what does that niche look like? How do I increase my prices? Am I actually a person who should be scaling an information-based business? Are you an expert coach, whatever? If I already got a big mastermind, how do I make that cooler? Like we work with people at the top tier, we work with people who are kind of in that middle space and people who are in the beginner space. So we have tons of stuff there, groupcoachnation.com. And if you have questions, by the way, you don't have to give us your email to get information there. It's there for you. If you have questions, DM us or reach out. That's really common. People do that all the time. I got a great team. We got tons of resources we can point to on YouTube also to just help you answer questions. We got you covered. And let me say one more time, if you're figuring out how to get something big done, if you've got a hustle you should be pursuing. I mean, why else would you be watching this show? It's kind of named that. If you got a hustle you should be pursuing and it's breaking for you, reach out to these guys, Dustin and Chris, because they've already got it sorted. Get good advice.
So, Chris, is there like a video of you shark diving that we can track down somewhere? Is that?
There's a picture of me.
It's going to be the thumbnail for the show.
Next time we're on this, if we do another show, let's talk about electric skateboards, because I want to geek out about skating. Is so freaking fun if you get the right stuff.
We will. That's awesome.
Okay.
I prefer watching dogs skate on YouTube and TikTok.
You can invite the dogs. Yeah.
Cool. Well, to all you listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate your ears. We appreciate the downloads. Until next time, peace.
Thank you for being part of the Hustle Nation. If you're serious about raising the bar in your personal and professional life and willing to go all in on your success, head over to hustleleaders.com. Here you can get access to our Hustle Productivity ebook, attend our Hustle Masterclass, or challenge yourself to the 30-day Hustle Challenge. Pairing these tools and training with the Hustle Nation podcast will help you advance to a whole new level. Until next time, stay hungry and inspire those around you to hustle.